the meantime, Chinese vaccine manufacturer Sinovac will today start phase 3 clinical trials of a COVID-19 shot for children. In South Africa, 2,000 children aged 6 months to 17 years will participate in that study. The trial will test the vaccine's efficacy against symptomatic COVID-19 cases in children and adolescents, as well as against hospitalization and severe illness from the virus. For more on what the study entails, we're joined now by the Executive Chair of the South African Paediatric Association, Professor Mignon Mcculloch. Prof, it's great to have you with us on the show this morning. I mean, on the face of it, a study of this nature involving children as young as 6 months, it makes me nervous, but what's your take on the story?
So we're very excited about it because we know that vaccines work. And we've done vaccines on 14 children's diseases, smallpox, measles, chickenpox, and we've been very happy to vaccinate our children in the past. The reason we haven't started with vaccines for COVID in children is because we know that this disease affects adults more. Right. And so they're the most vulnerable in this condition. And so if you've only got a limited resource, you're obviously going to choose your most vulnerable people first. We know interesting study out of Groote Hospital in Cape Town on the 6th of September. They had 156 adults admitted to their hospital, of which 153 were unvaccinated. Yeah. So only 3 people with vaccines were admitted. In the high care, 66 were admitted, but nobody with a vaccine was admitted to the high care, and 32 people on ventilators. Not a single person with a vaccine was ventilated. So we know that vaccines work. As a SAPA organization, we've already followed the lead of the UK, where their Royal College of Paediatricians, so the same body as us, have already advised that anybody between 12 and 18 with comorbidities should have the vaccine. So we've actually already applied to SAPRA, so our version of the FDA, our regulatory body for medications, to appeal that all children between 12 and 18 with comorbidities are the next people in line for the standard vaccine in the country. And we are very excited about the new study that's going to be happening. And it's not just South Africa, it's Chile, it's the Philippines, Malaysia and Kenya, now looking at anybody from 6 months to 17 years, knowing that these vaccines are safe. And we're not going to get rid of the mutations until we have at least 70% of the population in our country vaccinated against COVID.
Absolutely. And it's even more important because what we are seeing being reported now is more and more younger people getting sick with the Delta variant.
So we know with the Delta variant it's much more contagious. Some studies suggest 70% more contagious than the previous variant. We still know that children are not as affected as badly as adults are. And so if you're the health minister or if I was president for the day, I would be choosing my most vulnerable population, which is the over 60s, then the over 40s, then the over 20s. But now that we know we've rolled this out to many people across the country, and there is a trial, 2,000 is a big number, we're trying to show that this vaccine is safe in adults, safe in pregnant and breastfeeding mothers, and it's safe in children as well. And I think from here on forward, we'll probably be vaccinating people against this once a year like the flu vaccine. Yep. So we're trying to do away with the myth that there's any funny issues with this vaccine. It's a vaccine. Let's not overrate it. It doesn't grow horns. It doesn't give you a 5G chip. We know that these vaccines work. It really saves lives. And we need to be vaccinating the entire family to protect each other. Yeah. So we all wear masks. We want to get away from that in time. Otherwise, we're never going to return to any semblance of normality. And, these vaccines have now been given to 2 billion people across the world. It's almost been more than 18 months since we've had the vaccine in South Africa. The healthcare workers were the ones who stood up in the front. I was vaccinated in February this year, so 500,000 healthcare workers. We were the guinea pigs because we realized this is really important, and we've all been okay. And so we're actually saying, let's get together, let's vaccinate, and we're very excited about this new vaccine. I believe the first children in Pretoria are getting vaccinated today. And we just want to reassure people. I understand there's huge anxiety, obviously, with anything new, and this has been the most awful virus. So let's all stand together and let's protect each other, carry on physically distancing, carry on wearing masks, but let's get vaccinated and let's get this country back up and running from an economic point of view and get kids back to school. There's been so much child abuse, poverty, hunger. Kids have lost 2 years of school. It's set them back hugely. And as a country, we're a fantastic country. We really want to move forward. So let's get people vaccinated, and we're excited about this vaccine.
Prof, can I ask you this? And it definitely is a layperson's question. The Sinovac vaccine that's being used today to start these phase 3 clinical trials for children aged between 6 months and 17 years, is this the normal COVID-19 vaccine? This is not a variation of the COVID-19 vaccine.
So the vaccines, there have been many developed now. We know that there are a variety of different vaccines, and in many ways it's what's available at the time. So Johnson & Johnson was for the healthcare workers. Then we got Pfizer for the rest of the population. So the Sinovac is the one that the trial is being developed on. In terms of safety, the vaccines are all pretty much safe. Are some slightly more effective than others? There may be a mild variation, but at the end of the day, you want to get as many people vaccinated as possible. So I understand that question, and I think there has been some concerns about one vaccine over the other. But at the end of the day, most of the vaccines have at least a 70% effectivity. So any vaccine that's available, and that's been the problem across the world. Specifically in Africa, there have been a real shortage of vaccines. And in Europe and in North America, people are now getting their 3rd booster shot already. So that's the situation we need to be getting to. We've still got a lot of people in this country who are not vaccinated. We really support the Minister of Health and the government's approach of let's get as many people vaccinated if we want to have a Christmas this year. And so we haven't been doing the kids because we haven't had enough vaccines to do all the adults. And we really welcome studies that are controlled from a medical point of view. These studies don't pass through our SOPRA legislation without being really safe. Lots of very strict safety measures being put in place. These kids are going to be followed up for at least a year after they've had their vaccine. So we're trying to do this in a safe and orderly fashion. So we're excited.
Yeah, Prof, you talk about the education around who should be getting the vaccine. You also talked about the 12 to 18 age group in the UK. Those in that age group with comorbidities, they are now being vaccinated in that country. You're advocating for that to happen in South Africa as well. It's a big change from where we were a few months ago when we thought we need to be prioritizing the older age group. In fact, that's where we started our vaccine rollout plan in South Africa with the older age group. When in children 15 years and older, the virus does behave in exactly the same way as when it does affect adults.
So if we had unlimited numbers of vaccine, I think we'd be opening up to everybody. We'd definitely be saying, let's vaccinate absolutely everybody. We were strategic because we know this virus, even the Delta variant, is more adult to children spread. And so we got all our school teachers that were interested vaccinated. I believe that there's still a lot of people around the country who are very anxious about this vaccine, and often instead of listening to scientific evidence would rather listen to social media evidence, and that's a big concern. And so if you had unlimited amount of vaccine, you would absolutely be vaccinating everybody, but we were strategic, trying to do the highest risk people first. And now that the vaccine has been available to over 60s, over 35, over 18, there are now vaccines available for younger people. So I think the message is out there, let's get everybody vaccinated. If we had absolutely unlimited amount of vaccine from the word go, across the world, I think we'd be vaccinating everybody. But we've seen the Delta in this country. We've seen the devastation it's caused to older people. It's now being seen in the UK and in the US. A lot of the children that are being admitted are children with comorbidities in the same way as adults. So children on the whole are not getting sick enough to be admitted to ICU like the adults, but they are still spreading it, and the sooner we stop this virus from mutating by decreasing spread, the happier situation we'll all be in.
I mean, you've already touched on these various issues, Prof, but around the issue of vaccine hesitancy, it does appear that we're going to get to a stage where we have the vaccines, but we don't have the arms to put it in. For those people who are listening this morning and who might still be on the fence about, whether I should go and get the vaccine, or perhaps I'm thinking, my other family members have gotten it, so I don't need to bother. As long as they've got it, it's fine. What's your message to people who are against the vaccine for various reasons that are floating about on WhatsApp, or have decided just not to take the jab?
Yeah, so if you're looking around the rest of the world, a lot of places are now saying you can't travel if you don't have a vaccine. You can't go to a restaurant, or you can't go to any form of entertainment. In South Africa, there's some medical aid companies that are saying their staff can't come to work if they haven't had the vaccine. So that's the more militant approach, is that you're just going to be limited from doing stuff that you'd like to do. From our point of view, we're saying care for your family in the same way in the beginning as we said, I wear my mask to protect you, you wear your mask to protect me. We're saying in the same way, I vaccinate myself so that I don't make the rest of my family sick, and in the same way, you should be doing the same to yourself to protect myself. So that's really, really important, is that we need a high herd immunity. I think people understand these medical terms now. People didn't used to, but we need the majority of people in South Africa to be vaccinated to stop the vaccine from mutating and to stop us from making each other sick. So instead of concentrating on the negative, we're saying look at the positive. I mean, that study from Grooteskier, if you've got 156 people admitted, of which 32 are on ventilators, and of those on ventilators, not a single vaccinated person. So, yes, the vaccine may make you feel a little bit unwell for a day or so, slightly sore arm, but that's great because it means your body is recognizing that it's got something foreign in it, so the next time when it meets the virus, it's really going to knock it off and make sure it doesn't gain inroads into your immune system.
Prof, it's so great to talk to you this morning on the AM report. Such an incredibly important story. The Sinovac vaccine will today start phase 3 clinical trials of the vaccine for children. That's between the ages of 6 months, and 17 years. In fact, the first children, we're told, being vaccinated today in Pretoria. Professor Mignon Mcculloch is Executive Chair with the SA Paediatric Association. Thanks very much indeed.